here. Okay, so play in general. I guess we just take stuff like play for granted. It's just play, but it is very important and does have benefits, not only for children, for everybody. So the benefits of play um, in pertaining to infant mental health. The urge to play begins when a child is born and should last into adulthood. We all have the capacity to do it, but I guess some of us just forget or life bogs us down. But we all have a natural instinct to play and be playful, and to grow and develop. A baby needs stimulation and attention from someone who's happy to communicate and play with them. And playing with your child helps you to form a bond, or helps to at least to what's the word, encourage that bond that's there. So it can't do any harm. It will only do good, to be fair. It's not that it comes easy to everybody. I mean, some of the mums we work with, a lot of the time we do suggest things that they can do to encourage them to feel close to their baby would be to play with them, because they get kind of not frightened, but they're like, what can I do? What can I do? And it's just like just singing and talking to your child and having that interaction with them is what they're looking for from us, really. I always say to the mums that I'm working with, you don't have to buy expensive toys. You can make your own, or you can just use things at home. There's a little bit of a list here. So scraps of fabric, plastic beakers, clean empty boxes, a small mirror or that perspex if you don't use actual glass, a clean dry fur cone or even leaves, natural sponges, a bunch of keys, anything that makes noise and light. Children are just attracted to that kind of thing. If you're going to make things, we will say to them, if you're going to make like a shaker with rice or beans in a bottle, just make sure that the top is not only sealed tight, but also maybe sellotape tight so that when they're shaking it, bits don't come out. But honestly, you really don't have to buy, you don't have to spend a lot of money. My children, when they were younger, we spent endless amount of time in the kitchen with the pots and pans and a wooden spoon making lots of noise and mess. But they were happy doing that as much as playing with a toy. You'd buy a toy for a child, they'll play with it for 5 minutes, and then they just want to play with an old box or whatever you've got lying around. Normally your household stuff or your phone or your keys, to be fair. There are lots of things you can do to play with your baby. Talking, singing, clapping, bouncing them on your lap when they're crawling around, crawling with them, lying on the floor with them, tummy time, peekaboo, all the normal things that you can think of around the garden. Anything that gets your little baby chuckling and just gets you feel, you see them smile, it makes you smile, makes them smile. So all those interactions, all very good. Show them brightly colored objects, lights going on and off they like, or a lamp, sounds and textures, crumpled up paper, sound of ripping paper. There's a thing on YouTube that it makes me laugh hysterically. It's just a child cracking up to the dad, just ripping a piece of paper over and over again. And you can't get any cheaper than that. You don't need to go to the shop to buy that. Well, you do have to buy paper sometimes. Um, they love different textures, so fabric, rattles, books, fur. Those lovely books. Yeah, you can get those lovely books that have got the textured pages, or a part of it'll be a part of an animal. It'll have a little fur patch, but you can just get a towel, a scarf, gloves, anything that feels nice to a baby, they will enjoy. There are emotional benefits to play, apart from it just being a nice thing to do. It promotes emotional resilience, self-esteem, their self-confidence. It reduces anxiety. It helps with self-worth. They understand, eventually they'll understand the concept of winning and losing. I remember the big hoo-ha when schools started having where they had like sports days and so on, and everybody got a trophy or a medal or something, and all the parents, well, they're not teaching them anything. You can't all be a winner, and I actually agree with that. In some parts of life, you do need to know what it's like to fail, so that you can have it builds your resilience, so that you know it's like you'll try harder next time. Obviously, you don't want someone to be last all the time. That will knock their self confidence. But if they never experience the loss of losing, they'll never understand the high of winning. But that's just me. That's my personal thing. Um, it helps their feelings of self-expression, help them to empathize with other children and eventually with other people. It helps to understand the world they're living in. it helps them to deal with fear in a safe environment. So if you're playing a game, whether it's hide and seek or peekaboo, and they're a little bit startled, they get used to knowing that that's okay in that environment and that it's safe to do that. So as long as they feel safe, you can do startling games as long as you're not leaping out at your child at midnight and give them a heart attack. It's fine. Next one. I feel like Chris Whitty. Next slide, please. So there are long-term impacts of depriving your little one of play during their early childhood. It can lead to isolation, depression, reduced self-control, poor resilience. So all an opposite to all the things that were in the previous slide. And there's what I've got here is a lack of free play for children can damage their early child development. Structured play, where you put out things that you want them to build. Um, I think one of the an example that I can think of is back in the olden days, you just bought Lego, and then the child would just build something, create something out of their mind, and they tell you that this was what it was. This is a fort, mummy, or this is whatever. But now everything comes in it's the right pieces to make a ship or to make Star Trek or whatever it is. So they have no creativity. It's just like you have to build what's on the packet. But that's not free play. That's kind of structured play. Most creative children will literally just build what they want out of it no matter what, but setting out things and like this is this area and that is that area is a bit confining for a child. They just want to be able to roam around and use whatever they want, like children use a hairbrush to pretend it's a phone. They pretend that the dolly is a princess. That kind of free play, because they just use their imagination, is much more stimulating for them. And it's just a nicer thing to do, I think, as well. But if they don't have that kind of thing, it can lead to poor earlier development, possibly leading to things like poor self-control, shallower interpersonal relationships. I mean, there are just so many plus sides to it. It's just not worth not doing it. And if you do need the help, that's what we help encourage mums to do as well, to play with their children, interact with them, read stories, sing, point things out when you're out and about. You don't need a lot of money and you don't really need a lot of time. Obviously, the more time you spend, the better, but you really can just count cars when you're out. My children used to do that, or colors, a red car, a blue car, um, clouds, anything. Literally anything is a learning experience. Mm, Um, Anything could be a learning experience. And my children used to just love little scraps of my son used to have little scraps of paper, little bits of sticks and stones in their pockets, and then you'd go past and you see them on the floor playing with these. They had made them into little figurines. So this is a this person that's doing that, this is a this person. Yes, they did have toys as well, don't worry, but I mean they just had that kind of thing because they were just quite happy to just make things up, and imagination is a wonderful thing. um Play equals learning. Uh, this is in my head as well. I've been thinking that play, when you play and when children are engaged in play and they have a more memorable learning experience. I've written here that with older children, if a subject is joyful with a playful teacher, children learn better. It makes me remember when I was at school. I've never really liked maths, and I can trace it back without a shadow of a doubt to a maths teacher I had in primary school. Um, I can actually remember what she looked like. I don't remember her name, but I can picture her. And she would literally write what she was doing on the board, tell us once, sit down, and tell us to get on with it. And that was it. You daren't put your hand up to ask her to explain it again. And it's instilled in me a horrible innate fear of maths and money and counting and anything to do with that, I'm literally lost. Give me a book, I'm fine. English, literature, language, I'm fine. Maths, I just really hate, and it really does scare me. And that's because it wasn't made. I'm not saying that maths is the most wonderful thing in the world. You may love maths, or maybe it is. But if you make something enjoyable, it will stay in your mind. It will become a joy to you to do. You won't dread it. You don't dread going to your maths lesson because you enjoy how the teacher teaches. The same goes for any subject, really. But that's the one that really sticks with me as well. Um, it helps them to learn better. Play should be an integral part of the education system. It makes learning a joyful experience, and school into a source of reward, not punishment, which is what I was saying anyway as well. And what I was saying before with children, also with people, sorry, play going into adulthood as well. You don't have to stop. I mean, don't tell me that none of you don't enjoy family nights when you have a game night or when you play charades or anything that just makes you laugh. I mean, even now at my age, I look forward to the first of the month because when the children were smaller, and I still do it now if they're in the house, you wake up and you have to be the first one to pinch punch somebody to get them before they get you. It's just a joyful thing. And I love April Fool's Day and playing jokes on people as well. So it doesn't have to leave you, and it brings a lifetime of joy, in my opinion. So, and now it's time for questions, if you have any or comments.